At a time when pretty much all of Hollywood is tightening its belt and slashing budgets, Disney's doing something that, well, it looks completely insane. They are reportedly shelling out an absolutely astronomical amount of money for just 3 voice actors for the upcoming Frozen sequels. So, the big question is this a stroke of marketing genius, or is it just financial madness? Let's get into it.
Okay, let's just start with the number that has everybody's jaw on the floor. $60 million. And that's not the total for everyone combined. No, that is the reported payday for each of the main voice actors to come back for the next 2 Frozen movies. It's a staggering figure, especially when the rest of the industry is in the middle of a major financial correction.
So you have to ask the question, right? In an industry that's pinching every penny, why on earth would Disney sign off on a deal this huge? I mean, we are talking about a sum of money that could bankroll a whole bunch of independent films, all going to one person for their voice work. It just raises this massive question for investors and fans alike. How is this sustainable?
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get into the specifics of this massive 9-figure payday. Then, we'll look at the argument for why this is a totally bonkers expense. After that, we're going to flip the script and see it from Disney's point of view, how this is really about the price of promotion. Then, we'll do the math on the new billion-dollar break-even point this creates. And finally, we'll talk about the elephant, or maybe the AI in the room, and what this signals for the future of Hollywood.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what is, without a doubt, one of the biggest deals in the history of animation. So the deal brings back that iconic trio. You've got Kristen Bell as Anna, Idina Menzel as Elsa, and of course, Josh Gad as Olaf. This locks them in for both Frozen 3 and Frozen 4, and the math here is pretty shocking. It works out to roughly $30 million per actor per film. Now, to put that in perspective, that is reportedly double what they earned for Frozen 2. This sets a wild new precedent for voice acting that is definitely going to send ripples across the entire industry.
Okay, so if you're just looking at this from a pure dollars and cents perspective, this level of spending seems completely unhinged from reality. Let's dig into why a lot of people are calling this move just plain insane.
This has to be the question that shareholders are screaming from the rooftops. I mean, the big trend across all of Hollywood is to pull back, right? To be more responsible with the checkbook. Streaming services are canceling shows left and right. Movie schedules are getting trimmed. Every single dollar is being scrutinized. So why is Disney throwing this kind of cash at voice talent, especially when a much, much cheaper alternative is starting to pop up? From a numbers standpoint, it just doesn't seem to make sense.
And wow, this slide right here really lays out the argument in black and white. On one side, you have a $60 million human star, and on the other, you have a synthetic AI-generated voice that might cost a tiny, tiny fraction of that. Now, if you're on a board of directors and your legal duty is to make as much money as possible for your shareholders, this presents an almost impossible choice. Audiences might love human actors, but an investor is going to look at this and ask a very cold, hard question. Why are we spending this when we don't have to?
But now, let's flip the script. Because from where Disney is sitting, this isn't just a salary for reading some lines into a microphone. No, this is a strategic investment in something way, way bigger. If you really want to understand Disney's logic here, just look at this recent example. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's reported salary for Moana 2. The man was paid $20 million for what is probably about 20 minutes of screen time. That is $1 million a minute. All of a sudden, paying $30 million for a lead role in a massive flagship franchise like Frozen, it doesn't just start to make sense, it seems totally in line with their strategy.
And here it is. This is the core idea. This money isn't really about voice acting, it's about promotion, promotion, promotion. What you're buying is a real human celebrity that people feel connected to, someone who can get on talk shows and social media and carry the film. In a world full of digital and synthetic everything, having a real person as the face of your franchise is incredibly valuable.
So what does that $30 million per movie really get you? Well, it gets you a built-in marketing machine. You get Idina Menzel on talk shows, Kristen Bell on red carpets, and Josh Gad posting to millions of his followers. It buys you brand consistency. You're guaranteeing that the original voices everyone knows and loves are coming back. It buys that crucial human connection. And, maybe most importantly, it buys a promise of quality. After Frozen 2 got a bit of a mixed reception, paying top dollar for the original cast is Disney's way of telling the audience, don't worry, we're getting the magic back.
But here's the catch. This whole strategy has a massive financial consequence. These huge salaries don't just add a little to the budget, they completely change what success even means for these movies.
Okay, so let's start with a baseline number.
A big, major animated movie from a studio like Disney typically costs around $150 million to produce. That's for the army of animators, the writers, the designers, everything you actually see on screen.
Now let's add in the cost for just our 3 main stars. That's another $90 million right on top. And remember, that's for only 3 actors before a single frame of animation has even been drawn.
So once you factor in the salaries for the rest of the cast and all the other production costs, our $150 million movie is suddenly pushing $300 million. We have effectively doubled the cost of the movie before we even start talking about the insane global marketing spend.
And here is the absolute bottom line. With a budget this huge, the definition of success just skyrockets. Each of these movies is now squarely in the billion or bust category. If they make anything less than $1 billion at the global box office, they will probably be seen as a financial letdown. The stakes just could not be any higher.
You know, this whole situation really points to a much bigger storm brewing over Hollywood. This coming battle between irreplaceable human talent and infinitely replicatable artificial intelligence.
The upcoming Toy Story 5 makes this dilemma very, very real. The iconic actors who voiced Mr. Potato Head and Slinky Dog have both passed away, so the studio can't just write them a check. They're facing this incredibly difficult choice about what to do with these beloved characters, and whatever they decide is going to set a huge precedent for the future.
So what are the options? Well, on one hand, they could just recast the roles, hire new actors who would bring their own spin to the characters. On the other hand, they could use AI to perfectly synthesize the original voices. For a shareholder, the answer is a no-brainer. AI is so much cheaper. But for the audience, it's a lot more complicated. Do you want the character to sound exactly like you remember, even if you know it's fake? Or do you prefer the new life that a real human actor could bring to the role?
And at the end of the day, that's really what Disney's $60 million bet is all about. It's a bet that for now, audiences still value that human connection and the marketing power that comes with a real celebrity. But as the technology gets better and better, this becomes a more pressing question for all of us. What do we truly value more in our entertainment? The charisma of a star or the perfect recreation of a memory?